72 hours ago, American intelligence intercepted communications that changed everything. Russian military advisors inside Iran, not diplomats, not observers, operators, actively embedded in Iranian air defense networks, actively sharing targeting data, actively helping Iran track and engage American aircraft. This is what NATO intelligence is reporting to allied governments right now. This is why emergency meetings are happening in Brussels, Washington, and Tel Aviv simultaneously. And this changes every calculation America has about this war, because American pilots flying over Iran are not just facing Iranian defenses anymore. They are facing Russian technology, operated with Russian expertise, guided by Russian satellites. The F-35 incidents everyone is discussing did not happen because Iran suddenly got lucky. They happened because Russia made them happen. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what Russia is providing Iran and why it is unlike anything Moscow has ever exported. Why Russian advisors embedded in active combat means every American strike now risks starting a direct war with a nuclear power. Why Russia chose this specific moment to cross a line it protected for decades. What this does to oil prices, defense stocks, and global trade routes. And why every American option to counter this ranges from inadequate to catastrophic. Every fact comes from NATO intelligence assessments, defense analysis, and verified reporting. This is the strategic shift that does not just change this war. It changes every American security calculation for the next decade. Hit subscribe to War Room Economics, and like this video right now, drop a comment below telling me where you are watching from. We read every single one, and your suggestions shape what we cover next. Now let me show you exactly what Russia just handed Iran. Most people think this is about weapons sales. Russia sold Iran some missiles. Standard geopolitics. It is not. What Russia transferred goes far beyond hardware. And when you see what is actually operating inside Iran right now, you will understand why the Pentagon just reclassified its entire Middle East threat assessment. The hardware starts with the S-500 Prometheus, Russia's most advanced air defense system, engagement range exceeding 600 kilometers, designed specifically to track and destroy American stealth aircraft, never before exported outside Russian territory, until now. But the S-500 is just the visible layer. Russia is also providing Krasuka-4 electronic warfare platforms capable of jamming AWACS surveillance aircraft and degrading satellite communications. These systems do not shoot anything down. They blind American pilots before Iranian missiles even launch. On top of that, intelligence sources indicate Zircon hypersonic anti-ship missiles capable of Mach 9 speeds, designed to threaten American carrier battle groups, bastion coastal defense systems that can deny access to entire maritime zones. And then there is the intelligence layer. Russian satellites tracking American aircraft movements in real time, Russian signals intelligence intercepting American communications, Russian analysis feeding Iranian commanders targeting data before engagement. This is not arms sales, this is military integration. Russian advisors are not training Iranians and going home. They are embedded in command structures. They are present at air defense sites. They are operating systems alongside Iranian crews in active combat, which creates a problem America has never faced before. And it is the most dangerous part of this entire story. Because here is what happens the moment an American strike kills a Russian advisor embedded at an Iranian air defense site. That is not a strike on Iran anymore. That is a strike on Russian military personnel. And what that triggers is something no American general wants to calculate. Let me show you. Every American strike on Iranian air defenses now risks Russian personnel casualties. Every Russian system that engages an American aircraft involves direct Russian participation. The firewall between a U.S.-Iran conflict and a U.S.-Russia conflict no longer exists. America went from fighting Iran to fighting Iran with Russians embedded inside it. And there's no surgical way to separate those two things in the air. This is why emergency meetings are happening across NATO right now. Because Article 5, the clause that says an attack on one NATO member is an attack on all, was written assuming adversaries were separate. It was not written for a world where Russian operators are embedded inside Iranian forces fighting American pilots. Every strike decision now carries a question that did not exist 30 days ago. Is there a Russian advisor in that facility? And the answer to that question can turn an airstrike into a nuclear escalation pathway. So why did Russia cross this line? Why transfer technology Moscow protected for decades? Why embed personnel in an active combat zone against American forces? The answer is strategic opportunity. And when you see the math behind it, the logic is cold and precise. Russia is not doing this out of loyalty to Iran. Russia is doing this because the math is perfect. American attention fixes on Tehran. American resources concentrate on Iranian operations. And somewhere else on the map, a door opens. Let me show you exactly what Russia is calculating. While American carrier battle groups sit in the Gulf, what happens in Ukraine? While American air assets dedicate sorties to Iranian targets, what happens in the Baltic? while American intelligence focuses on Middle East threats. What happens in the Arctic? Russia is exploiting American overextension with textbook precision. Every weapon transferred to Iran creates American problems that consume resources. Every American aircraft lost over Iran is one fewer available for European contingencies. Every American pilot in the Middle East is one not training for Pacific scenarios. The exchange rate is elegant and devastating. Russia provides weapons costing millions. Those weapons engage aircraft costing hundreds of millions. American replacement timelines stretch years. Russian production continues. And there is a deeper calculation. If Russia can demonstrate that its technology neutralizes American stealth and defeats American air power, that demonstration is worth more than any arms sale. Every adversary on Earth watches and learns. China watches what S-500 does to F-35. North Korea watches how electronic warfare degrades American situational awareness. The lesson being taught over Iranian skies has a global classroom. And that brings us to the part of this story that hits closest to home for everyone watching. Because Russia-Iran military integration is not just a geopolitical story. It is already moving oil prices, defense stocks, and trade routes in ways that affect you directly. Here are the numbers. Brent crude has surged 34% since Russia-Iran. Military cooperation became public. Every barrel of oil now carries a risk premium reflecting the possibility of expanded conflict. Analysts estimate $15 to $25 per barrel is pure geopolitical fear. That fear is priced correctly. Here's why. Iran sits on the world's fourth largest proven oil reserves. Russia controls the world's largest natural gas reserves. Together, they influence over 20% of global hydrocarbon supply. And their military cooperation directly threatens the Strait of Hormuz. 21% of global oil consumption passes through that single choke point daily. Iranian anti-ship missiles, now enhanced with Russian Zircon hypersonics, can threaten tanker traffic. Russian intelligence can identify optimal interdiction points. One coordinated strike on tanker traffic sends oil past $150 per barrel. The defense sector tells its own story. The F-35 program represents $1.7 trillion in value built on one promise: air dominance against any adversary. Every confirmed engagement against American stealth aircraft creates investor uncertainty. If Russian enhanced defenses consistently threaten F-35s, that promise gets tested. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics all face the same recalculation. Defense stocks surge during conflicts. But this conflict introduces a variable markets have never priced. American weapons losing to adversary cooperation. Insurance premiums for vessels transiting the Persian Gulf have increased 400% since cooperation announcements. Every container rerouted around the Gulf adds costs that consumers eventually pay at every store. Now, let me show you the actual numbers behind why S-500 systems change the math of air power permanently. Because when you see the detection range versus the F-35's stealth capability, the picture becomes very clear very fast. 3 S-500 batteries provide overlapping coverage of Iran's entire width. Russia reportedly transferred 2 complete systems. Strategic targets are now defended. S-500 radar uses multiple frequency bands designed specifically to detect stealth aircraft. Estimated detection range against an F-35 exceeds 200 kilometers. Combined with Krasuka-4 electronic warfare degrading American situational awareness before launch, stealth advantages diminish significantly. The exchange math is the part that should alarm every defense planner. S-500 interceptor missile costs approximately $35 million. F-35 costs $80 million. F-22 costs $150 million. B-2 costs $2 billion. Even a 10% engagement success rate creates exchange ratios that American force structure cannot sustain long-term. Production timelines cannot replace losses fast enough. And here is the implication for Israel that nobody's discussing loudly enough. Israeli F-35s face the exact same Russian-enhanced threats as American aircraft. Israeli strike planning against Iranian nuclear facilities now confronts Russian air defense technology operated with Russian expertise. The operational window for effective strikes is closing. Israel may need American B-2 bombers to penetrate Fordo, and asking America for B-2 strikes means asking America to risk direct confrontation with Russian-operated systems. And China is watching every single one of these engagements and writing down exactly what it learns. Because what Russia just demonstrated over Iranian skies gives Beijing a template it has been waiting decades to see tested. Here's what China took from this. Beijing has watched Russia demonstrate willingness to directly challenge American military operations with measurable success. Chinese calculations about Taiwan, about the South China Sea, now incorporate one lesson. Great power support can neutralize American technological advantages. For Japan, South Korea, and Australia, who built defense strategy around American air dominance, the question becomes uncomfortable. If Russia can contest that dominance in Iran, what guarantees exist elsewhere? America's options for countering Russia-Iran integration are all difficult. Accepting degraded operations means absorbing losses. American military culture will not sustain politically. Shifting entirely to standoff cruise missiles reduces strike capacity and leaves high-value defended targets unreachable. Escalating against Russian supply lines risks confrontation with a nuclear power. Diplomatic pressure has not altered Russian behavior in Ukraine and will not alter it here. Providing Ukraine with capabilities that threaten Russian territory escalates globally and takes years to implement. None of these options restore the operational freedom America had before Russian-Iranian integration. Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea are not a formal alliance, but they are a functional network. Iranian drones reach Russian forces in Ukraine. North Korean ammunition supplies Russian artillery. Chinese technology flows to Iran through Russian channels. American strategy assumed adversaries would remain isolated. That assumption is failing in real time. Let me bring this together. Russian military advisors are embedded inside Iranian air defense networks operating against American aircraft right now. The S-500 systems Russia transferred have never left Russian territory before. The Krasuka-4 electronic warfare platforms are blinding American pilots before engagement. Russian satellites are feeding Iranian commanders real-time targeting data. Every American strike now risks Russian casualties and the escalation that follows. Oil is up 34%. Defense stocks face a narrative they have never confronted. The Strait of Hormuz faces coordinated Russia-Iran threat. Israel's strike window against nuclear facilities is closing. China is writing down every lesson, and America has no option that does not carry serious cost. For 30 years, American military power was unchallengeable because adversaries faced it alone. Russia just changed that, not with a declaration, not with a treaty, by embedding operators inside an active combat zone against American forces. The era of isolated adversaries is over. The era of coordinated opposition has begun, and the playbook that worked for 30 years needs to be rewritten starting today. What do you think? Can America counter coordinated adversaries, or has the strategic balance shifted permanently? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to War Room Economics for analysis of every development as this unfolds. I will see you in the next one.